Welcome to another foss-north. I would like to start by thanking our gold sponsors, our silver sponsors, our base sponsors, and our partners from the community.
So welcome back, everyone. This time we have a fireside chat session rather than a lecture. And with me I have Landgren. So maybe you want to introduce yourself and why you're here and what you do.
Well, I don't know why I'm here. I think I know why I'm here. I'm Christian. I run a company called iTeam. We help our clients to be more digital, especially through open source software, both using open source, but also using the ideas and methodologies of open source to get our clients to be more agile and also be more part of the future.
Cool. And you've been involved in this Öppna skolplattformen, or the open school platform that's used in the Stockholm region. Maybe you could talk us through real quick how we ended up here, so to speak.
So the background is that Stockholm has invested 125 million euros in a digital platform called skolplattformen, and the last 10 years, I think it is. And it launched 3 years ago, and everyone hates it, especially the parents. So it's not done through any kind of user experience research or anything like that. So it's quite annoying as a parent, but also it actually doesn't work at all. So I think it was November last year I decided to do a small scale test for myself to see if I could write something for myself to read my data from my school about my kids. And it actually works pretty good. So I published this code, and a lot of other parents joined. So now it's become a open source movement and the story could be quite happy if it's just stopped there. But in January or February, when we launched this app on App Store, the city didn't like at all that we did what we did. So they have tried to stop us, and they have tried to sabotage us, and they actually now filed a police report against us. So now kind of a legal fight whether or not we have access to the data we actually they publish as open data or not. So that's a very interesting case, and a lot of people are interested in it for many reasons. First of all, parents are interested to see their data of their kids in a better way than that our app can provide. But also a lot of people are interested in this from a kind of open perspective, like how do we envision the society as a whole to be developed? Are we only going to rely on the people working in the government agencies to kind of write the software that are actually a big part of our lives? Or should we be able to do part of that ourselves, especially when it doesn't work? So that's a discussion that is really interesting to be part of, and also this case is providing everyone kind of a very clean case of kind of government on one side and the kind of the parents and civic society, but also the tech society on the other side, and the gap between those.
So it's I guess it's sort of a perfect storm, because it's API access and GDPR, I guess, plays in here as well. But technically what you've done is to build a new UI or a new front end on top of sort of the platform that was provided by the city, because the old front end was not good.
No, exactly. Yeah, that's pretty good. So we from a kind of legal standpoint, you could see our app as being a different web browser actually. That we are providing a tool to our users where they can use this tool to see the data that the city provides. We don't have any access at all to the data that this tool is fetching from the city. In the same way as Chrome or Safari or any other browser that you're using, Apple have no access to the data that you as a user of Safari is downloading from the web service. But that's a very technical and legal description. From a user's perspective, it's just you download the app and you get the same data. You log in with your bank ID and it works exactly the same as skolplattformen, but it looks better.
What has the user reactions been? I guess since you have tractions, it's do you have any numbers, like how
yeah, so directly when we launched, we actually got on the top list of App Store. We on the launch day. It has been quite steadily, actually. A lot of people are downloading it, and right now I think it's 7,000 people or parents that have downloaded the app. But we still expect that it's gonna be much more when kind of this legal battle has settled. I think. So we are, but in the meantime, we are developing a lot of features that our users ask for. So it's I think it's 72 people now, programmers that have joined, and we have a very active Discord. We have a lot of fun developing these things. So it's definitely like a community of participatory development from the actual users.
What kind of features do you build? Since the server-side APIs, I guess, are fixed then, but do you sort of visualize things differently, or what's the new features?
Yeah, so what we do is kind of we combine the data in a better way. Like if you go to the school platform today, you kind of get very raw dump of the data. It's like you have, these are the activities, these are the newsletters, this is a pager, and you have to scroll through those long list of things. But we try to be a little bit more smart about presenting these things, like to present an overview of all your kids, to see directly when, if you need to remember to bring something to school, like a gym bag or something like that. We provide that information directly. In the old platform, you have to go through a lot of different screens and navigations to get kind of to the calendar to see when they start today. We just present that information directly, so at a glance if you want to see, like when you stand there. And often when you use this app, you're quite stressed yourself as a parent. So we do a lot of those things, like be smart at thinking about the user itself and see at what point is this user going to use this app, and try to be as smart as possible to do that as efficiently as possible. And that's pretty much basic user experience research. And in this case, it's actually ourselves, so that makes it much more fun. You're actually helping yourselves and understanding your own behavior in different things.
Do you build UX for other personas as well, like teachers and so on, or is that?
We plan to. We actually asked the city for documentation of the API, because they have an API that we found when we just started researching this. We asked for documentation so we can also make another app for parents, or for teachers, but also for the kids. But the city, they didn't allow us to get hold of the documentation. So that's one of the legal battles that we want to, that we think that documentation should be publicly available, because that's part of kind of LOU, offentlighetsprincip, and things like that. So after that, we will know if we can do like separate apps for those people as well.
But how are the APIs protected then? So I guess you have a sign-in process somehow. I would guess bank ID being Sweden, but there are no APIs keys per client or something like that then. So
no. So they have a pretty basic, like, standard security model where you log in with bank ID, you get a cookie, and they can use that cookie to access the API. But they don't. I don't think that they anticipated when they built this that someone else would use this API. But they don't have any kind of legally binding, or they have no agreement, license agreement, or anything like that you need to comply with in order for you to use the API. And that's something we have suggested to the city, that they should probably write the documentation, release the documentation, have some sort of agreement that you have to sign in order for you to kind of access the rules of using the API and things like that. That's the normal behavior, and then you get an API key, And as long as you comply with those rules, you can, continue using the API key. And then if you would, if they would find that you're not complying with the rules, they could just disallow the API key to work, and then you're kind of back to the drawing board. And then you can have to go back to the city to be able to use the API. But so that's what we have suggested them all the time, and that's the normal thing to do. But they have not listened to that, and they are kind of pursuing a different path where they're saying that what we're doing is not legal, and in different ways that they think. So I think in the end it's about they want to be in control of this development. I think they are not. They have actively said out loud that they're not interested in having medborgardriven utveckling or citizen-driven development, which is, I think, a little bit remarkable from coming from a city that is, supposed to be, serving their citizens.
I saw a question here that's sort of related. So yeah, you talked about sabotaging, and I guess that's changing the APIs. There's a mentioning here of doing small changes just to mess with you and your API usage.
Yeah.
Is that how they counter it technically, rather than just introducing an API key and sort of?
Yeah. So what they did was to kind of mimic how a normal API would look like. So they added a header called API key. But it was static, so you kind of you would use the same API and API key as they did, and I don't think that they actually know what the reason for having an API key. That kind of it's not just a header. But then we used the same API key and tested that, and it worked perfectly for our app as well. And then they continued to kind of mess with these different headers to sabotage our app. We know that the purpose of doing that was to sabotage us. We have seen those letters internally from between those people in the city that decided to try to stop our app. But since we don't have any legal framework to stand on or doing that, then we kind of it's just a matter of releasing a new app with kind of their changes in our app as well. So they tried 7 times to sabotage for us, but now they have stopped. So I don't know right now where they are at right now. But I think that they are probably just waiting for the legal terms to come out.
And is this the administration sort of fighting you, or is it on a political level as well? Or where?
No, it's definitely the administration level. We have pretty good discussion with the politicians. They feel a little bit that they can't really interfere right now until these legal things have been sorted out. But I think from the political level, they have already decided on a strategy for digital strategy that they are going to use open standards. They're going to use collaborate between citizens and the private business and the city. So they have already in the strategy, and also for for the country as a whole, we already have decided on this path that we need to build these things together. So I would say that these things are only on the administrative level right now. But we will see. And when these legal things are done, we will probably see a lot more development in also from from political discussions. And we hope that this kind of example can also lead to more discussions about the whole society as a whole. How can we use open source software more when developing all our different parts of society? Because I think that many people understand that this what has happened here is actually a good thing. That we are parents that have taken ourselves to help building the society here. And I think that's a lot of energy that comes out from that process. I think that's something we need to do a lot more, because that it's going to be a much better society if we can build together.
I think you had a Twitter discussion with Puff over the weekend as well. Did you start something heading in this direction, like an initiative, or was it just a link that you provided?
A link to what?
As APIs first or something like an
yeah.
in this direction.
Yeah. Yeah, good to mention that. So we have started together with another open or what's it called? It's not an agency, but it's Allmännyttan. They have decided to help the real estate business by using APIs. So we started as a April Fool's joke that we renamed the April 1st to API First Day. So now we have launched this initiative, and we encourage everyone to be part of that, to kind of see and envision a society where we start by defining the APIs between organizations, and then start building the apps and things like that. Because I think right now a lot of people are just envisioning kind of how the app and the websites are going to look like, and then they forget about the information underneath these services. But if we envision like a police and school and all the official agencies and welfare systems more as kind of connections between different APIs at first, and then we can see those app emerges. And some of the apps are going to be developed by the official agencies, but also a lot of apps are going to be developed by private citizens and also companies. So I think that's one part of this. So open source and API first; those are really important.
So I mean, we've spoken a lot about what's happening and those parts, but in an ideal world, what would the outcome be for you?
For this project or for society?
Maybe we start with the project. That's more tangible.
So I think the ideal scenario for this project would be that it develops not only in Stockholm, but it's growing as a kind of a movement between different cities, and also becoming a standard for how we can better communicate between the school and the parents in this first case, but also develop new apps for the kids to be better at knowing what books are they gonna bring to school, and what's important information that they need at a certain point. I think those things should probably be developed for the whole city, for the whole country, because the needs are probably going to be the same for pretty much everywhere. But in the end, I think this is also something could spread as well outside of Sweden as well. For the Nordics, we've been discussing a lot with Finland, for example. They are interested a lot in open source development, and so I think these type of movements could arise to be much larger than just helping some kids or some parents in Stockholm. So that's what I envision, that we can get that type of open source platforms that are very specific to a certain use case like this. And then also it becomes kind of the vision also for society, that we have a lot of code written in legal language that helps us to regulate how we should move and in kind of the normal society, physical society. But then we also have a lot of code that limits and regulates how we can move in the digital world. And I think that we have a lot more digital infrastructure that is necessary to be built in the coming years in order for us to be more in control over the code that actually regulates our way of working and living in our digital worlds. And if we look at the kids today, they are not going to accept the world that is as it is right now, where you kind of are trusting large corporations, not many of them from the United States, to govern how we live our lives right now, and what pictures we're gonna be allowed to publish somewhere, or what language we're gonna allowed to be speaking in different topics, and censoring our free speech and things like that from multiple. And there's a lot of complexity in those questions, and I think we need to be able to have a little bit more control over that. So in order for us to do that, I think we need to be developing these digital infrastructures ourselves in much more extent. And in order for us to do that, I think open source and these type of publicly funded projects could be the starting point of doing that. I'm encouraging everyone that listens here that are kind of from the public sector to look at more open source much more rigidly in their procurement process, to understand that if we have now new investments in the digital tools and digital systems, make sure that those are now written in open source so we can reuse them between different parts of society.
Cool. I had one more listener question here, and I'll put an if instead of a can in front of it. But if you get reparations from the legal battle, will you use it for development?
Yeah, absolutely. We will. If we get any money at all from any, and we get a lot of support from our patrons. Right now, the app is still a paid app. It costs 12 kronor. But we want to make it free and instead get support from patrons. All of that money is about supporting the long-term development of this app. Because right now we can, everyone that is involved can be doing that just because it's fun. Because we get a lot of attention and things like that. But in 1 year, when bugs arises and new things happen, we need to make sure that we can sustain this project for a long time. So, I think it's a very important discussion when you're talking about open source, that you're not counting on the kind of the good spirit of good people to always help you out, but actually when there are different boring things to do, you have to have some sort of plan, business model, if you would say, to make it sustainable. So all the money that we get here is going to be supporting the long-term sustainable development of this project.
Cool. I see we're approaching the end of this half hour, so if anyone has more questions, please shoot. In the meantime, I'd like to just ask you what's the current status? What's the next steps? What's going on?
We have a lot of some very, very important, interesting development now in the legal battle. I can't really disclose that much right now, but it's going to be open. It's going to be out there in the next couple of days. And we are continuously developing the app. We have added a lot of new language support. The official app have only Swedish, but there are a lot of parents that only speaks a different language. So that's one of the things. And we have invested a lot in accessibility, so everyone can actually use this, even if you have different types of disabilities. And then we are continuously also looking at different ways of expanding this app to other regions. We have discussions with Göteborg, we have discussions with Helsingborg, with Alingsås, and are looking at different ways of expanding this, because we have developed it in a smart way. So you kind of have the front end in one side, and then we have encapsulated all the API calls in a kind of adapter, which means that we could be able to do the same thing for Göteborg instead, and the other places. So we are looking at all those options, but also continuing talking about these different things. We have every Monday evening at 8 o'clock. We have a clubhouse chat where we invite different guests that are discussing the different aspects of this. We have talked about legal aspects, we have talked about UX aspects, and now we're going to talk about growth the next time. How do you grow an open source project like this? We have talked about like data and encryption and security and GDPR and things like that. So every time we talk about the different project, and everyone is encouraged to kind of go there and just ask questions, be part of the discussion. And also encourage everyone to use this project as a kind of an illustration of where it's very clear that there are like an old and a new way of doing things, and there's a lot of also like the properties of the new and properties of the old. Like we can do a lot more releases. We can do move much more fast than the old ones. So there's a lot of interesting things, properties of this example. So I'm encouraging everyone to use this as a starting point for discussions.
Cool. I'd like to ask one last question from the audience then, and that's, are you aware of similar initiatives in other cities or countries?
A very good question. Actually, I have not. There are probably a lot of different open source apps and things like that. There's a lot of, the recent one here in Sweden is the one that Pierre Mineur was developing for seeing the flu shots and things like that. But in the school sector, in open source, I haven't heard anything yet. So if anyone knows, please let me know, and we will retweet that.
Super, great. But then I'd like to extend a big thanks for you taking your time and coming here.
Thank you so much.
I wish you luck in your future endeavors. Any links or so on, drop them on me, and I'll distribute them out through the
Absolutely.
page.
All right, skolplattformen.org, and please support us at Patreon, and also spread the words and let everyone understand that they can download the app. And thank you so much for having me.